How about Justin Jefferson? You drop this guy's player profile, Matt, and man, it's all green, all across the board. This dude is just lighting it up everywhere he goes.
98th percentile success rate versus press coverage, 8th best all time for Justin Jefferson among the players sampled for reception perception. You think is he the best receiver in football right now in your mind, Justin Jefferson?
Look at the release.
There's your separation.
Great route.
Stutter and go. Gets by clean.
That is unbelievable.
Maybe the greatest catch I've ever seen.
Okay, so the four guys we're going to talk about today, because there's a lot of players that dropped on this June 5 drop. By the way, go to the website, receptionperception.com. Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Brandon Ayuk, and Jerry Jeudy. Now, the first two guys, I mean, we're talking elite of the elite, and I want to just jump right into it. How about Justin Jefferson? You drop this guy's player profile, Matt, and man, it's all green, all across the board. This dude is just lighting it up everywhere he goes.
Yeah, I mean, he's such a superstar, and you know, the great part about this is it was really easy to see it coming. You know, I actually revisited the 2021 player profile for Justin Jefferson, and I mean, he was above the NFL average green route on all but one of the route types, the flat route in 2021. He was over the 90th percentile in success rate versus man, zone, and press coverage in 2021. So like I wrote in the player profile that just dropped on the site, you know, there was a lot of things that it was easy to predict the monster season coming for Justin Jefferson. Like Kevin O'Connell was going to come in and tweak his pre-snap deployment a little bit. They were certainly, even Jefferson has talked about this, they were going to leave behind a run-heavy offense from the boomer ball Mike Zimmer days into, you know, more of a modern offense here in Kevin O'Connell. But most importantly, the easiest reason to see it coming was that Justin Jefferson had shown in his first 2 years in the NFL, he was ready to join the elite wide receiver tier. And I think obviously 2022 has really cemented that. 98th percentile success rate versus press coverage, 8th best all time for Justin Jefferson among the players sampled for reception perception. He was 79% success rate versus man, 96 percentile, 85.6% success rate against zone, 92nd percentile, above the NFL average on every single route type. He was just an absolute animal. And it's funny because of those three things that I mentioned earlier, like pre-snap deployment, play calling tendencies, and him being really, really good at football. The one thing I think that actually mattered most in why Justin Jefferson erupted, and surprise, surprise, it was actually his ability, his talent, because when you look at like his pre-snap deployment, you know, I talked a little bit about this with Justin Jefferson name drop at the Super Bowl. You know, there was a lot of talk about him being in the Cooper Kupp role, and like that didn't really play out.
Not at all.
At all, right? Like Jefferson, 6.1% of his sample snaps in reception perception were in the backfield. That was mostly as like a pre-snap motion player. His slot rate actually fell 23.9% to 21.4% in reception perception sample. The off the line, you know, when he was off behind the line of scrimmage, off the line was about the same, 31.5% in 2021, 32.5% in 2022. So really, it was just more so that he took a massive, massive leap as a player, and he was already at such high highs. I mean, yeah, this dude is at the peak of position right now.
128 receptions, 1,800 yards, 8 touchdowns, nearly a 70% catch rate. This guy was absolutely unstoppable. 79% success rate versus man. That's a top 15 score of all time in reception perception history. You know, I was going through the database here. And by the way, you guys need to get, if you don't have the Sicko tier subscription plan, I don't blame you. I'm just saying what you're missing here is all the historical data, right?
Yeah.
And what you see here with Justin Jefferson is, so I'm going through all the historical data, and, you know, he's not an all-timer really anywhere, but golly, Matt, this guy is truly great just about everywhere.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And that's what's, I think, really special is like, these guys who are 90th percentile and yeah, like not peak, but at least above the 90th percentile in all three success rates, man, press, zone. That is like the best of the best groups. That's like, you know, your Stephon Diggs, your prime Odell Beckham. That's the type of group that Justin Jefferson is now joining. And I think this leads into an interesting conversation too, because I think when you just think of like the definition of elite wide receiver, elite number one wide receiver, the thing that I think you just wanted to put it down in a sentence, it's everybody knows the ball's coming your way and there's nothing you can do. Like there's nothing the defense can do to stop it. And I would argue that like typically and I think reception perception data would back this up.
Mm-hmm.
Typically we think about like the amount of double coverage and extra defensive attention and stuff like that. It doesn't really happen as much as we think. Like people talk about going in like every number one receiver, like every top receiver on a depth chart, just getting double covered every snap. Like no way. That's you would just be conceding yards and points. Like we don't have like Mountain West players at the second, third, and fourth receiver spots. It's not how it works. But
exactly.
There are occasionally true coverage dictators, and Justin Jefferson is absolutely one of them. In 2022, he was doubled on 21.1% of his routes. That's the second highest in the full RP database, dating back to like 2014. Justin Jefferson saw press coverage on 28.3%. That's the second highest rate for any receiver so far in the 2022 database. Like Kevin O'Connell, I think, said it in the post-draft presser for Jordan Addison, like you're going to get the easiest looks in the entire NFL, basically.
Yeah.
That's why, because like Justin Jefferson is that good. And he's posting those success rates with that extra defensive attention. It just, that's special stuff for sure.
I mean, yeah, you take a look at just from what he did from a raw stats standpoint, going from year 2 to year 3, right? Like he goes from 108 receptions to 128 receptions. He goes from 1,600 yards to 1,800 yards, right? And again, this is with the entire league knowing what's up. I do think that Kevin O'Connell, even though he did not necessarily stick with that idea of, let's move Justin Jefferson more into the slot. He actually played, as you mentioned, in the slot less than what he did in 2021. I just think the creativity in the routes selection, I think, was better. And again, you take a look at what he did in 2021, a lot less slant routes for Justin Jefferson. So a little bit more creativity, a little bit more downfield too, Matt. Maybe not necessarily on the quote unquote 9 route, but I think when you take a look at, the dig, the curl, the out, the post corner, it's just when you, in totality, all of that came off the slant in 2021 in that Zimmer boomer ball era. But he goes from 22% slant route percentage in 2021 to 12% slant route percentage in 2022. Now that 10% route percentage went somewhere and it was all dispersed, mostly, I think, a little bit deeper downfield. And I think that's where he thrived. Within
Justin Jefferson's route tree, where, some of these guys, like they just run a ton of downfield routes. They're very vertically inclined. He's a full field guy. And I think that was really impressive. Like, to note that 22% of his routes were slants in 2021 and 12.7% of his slants were in 2022. And the fact that his success rates were still that high is very, very impressive.
Yeah. I mean, he improved on the 9 route in 2022. I mean, think about that for a second. He improved and by a significant chunk, 66.7% success rate in 2021, and then a 77.4% success rate in 2022, tops among all players charted thus far in 2022. That is incredibly, incredibly impressive, man. Again, because he's not only just bending defensive schemes towards him, but people know where the ball is going and they just cannot stop it, man. It is just so impressive what he's doing, again, as a year 3 player. It's nuts.